Kawasaki W650 W800 Part 9 Forks Maintenance. So I'm going to show you how to take off the forks and maintain them, specifically disassemble them, drain the oil obviously, looking at the health of bushings, and then how to put it all back. So first of all, very quickly, you do this every 3 to 4 years, or look in your manual how often you have to do this kilometer wise. So I don't remember exactly, but I know that if you haven't done this on your bike, do this. It's not very difficult. Just, ahead of time, I'm telling you, there's nothing super special about this. It's not difficult. You take off the wheel, loosen this up, and then it slides down. That's it. You don't need to take the lights, so don't bother, don't worry about this. I was just doing something else. All right, so I loosened those 2 bolts, and I'm sliding this shock down, the fork. You slide it down, very straightforward. That's it. Now I suggest, forgot to mention that before you remove the leg of the fork from the bike, make sure that you loosen up this cap here. You don't have to unscrew it, just loosen it up about this much, because the spring underneath is pushing against it, and it's when you take it out from the bike, it's harder to unscrew because this part is slippery and it's turning in your hand, so it's hard to hold properly. Okay, next step, there's a spring in there. Take the spring out and be careful because it's in oil. So when you take it out, have a rag of some sort nearby and make sure that this thing doesn't fall because it's full of oil, old oil. Okay, so take the spring out. Next up, once the spring is out, you need an empty bottle to pour the old oil out, and a funnel. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how dirty fork oil looks like. You see that black stuff? That's dirt and metal shavings, basically. All kinds of crap. So this is what happens if you don't change your oil every 3 to 4 years. If you're a commuter, every 2 years. Now, I was able to take out 350 milliliters of oil out of 400 milliliters that are in there. So you will not get the 50 milliliters until you disassemble the fork. So what we need to do now, basically, before we go further, I wanted to explain. Most people don't know that you cannot just change the oil in a fork, pour out the old oil and pour in the new oil. A lot of videos out there online basically show you how to, without disassembling the fork, you just pour out the old oil and put the new oil in, and that's called an oil change in the forks. This is bad. Okay, there's no point of doing that because you have 50 milliliters of dirty tar oil that is still in the fork, in the bottom of the fork. As soon as you pour the new oil and it mixes with the tar, all the metal shavings, all the crap that's on the bottom, you're just gonna bring it, with the new oil, and you contaminate the new oil immediately. So there is no point of pouring new oil without disassembling the full fork. So when people say, when you see videos that are showing you how to change the oil without full disassembly and service, it's bad advice, okay, to put it mildly. So if you look at how the professionals do it, like race, for race bikes and people who really care about doing their job right, you always see them completely disassembling the fork and then cleaning it all out with all, you know, the kerosene, whatever you have. Make sure it's spotless inside. All of the components are spotless. And then you dry it out, and then you put it all back together. And when it's fresh and new, only, not new, but, you know, basically dry, only then you pour the exact amount of brand new oil. And that way you really service the fork. What I ended up using is the following set of instruments. So basically we have H8 Allen key, 8mm. Then to hold the other side, inside the fork, there is this the damper. So in order to hold it in place, you use H24 Allen socket, right? This is a 1/2 inch socket in my case, H24, okay? Extension, 1/2 inch extension. Then I have an adapter, 3/8 to 1/2 inch, that goes in here, like that. That goes here. Then to elongate it, I have just to use this. So I remove this part here because I don't need it. This is another extension. This is 3/8 extension. And then I use a ratchet, regular ratchet from this side, right? See how long this is? Look, why this is so long, I will explain. So I'm assembling this thing for you. Now, Kawasaki has a special tool for this. I don't have that tool, and I don't even know how much it costs. I just don't have the time to buy it. So what I did is literally assembled my own Kawasaki tool. So what you need to do is you insert this sucker, hold on, right in there, all the way. Okay, so that's one end. See, like that. You rotate it slightly so it grabs. That's how you hold one end. On this end, you see this? I just put this inside here, just like that. H8, 8mm Allen. And this is just like to give me more torque. I just put this on here, like that. So I can hold it like this, and the other hand holds the ratchet. And you obviously open it counterclockwise, right? You hold this part, and then you pull this counterclockwise. That will allow you to remove the bolt here. Without this contraption, right? Without this, the damper rod will rotate inside, and you will never be able to remove this bolt. Now, some people say, yeah, just put the spring inside. And I tried it before. Put the spring inside, close it all up, and use the power tool, you know, just a drill, to unscrew this bolt. The problem with the drill is frequently drills strip the bolts. If you press the trigger on the drill too hard, it can actually strip the bolt. And this bolt, in my case, was very tight, like it was over tightened. Okay, so someone was here, okay, and someone over tightened the bolt. So if I would use a drill or a pneumatic, some kind of air tool, it would strip the bolt, and I would need to buy another fork leg, right? So hand tools allow you to do things smoothly and more carefully. So I prefer this way. So when you open it up, remove the bolt, and then you are able to simply remove the spring from here, and use both of your hands, just like that. Just one second. You use both hands. Imagine I hold it here too, and you would after you remove the metal
spring inside. There's a metal spring. You remove that first, and then you're able to just pull it to opposite direction, and it will come out. As simple as that, right? When it comes out, you've disassembled your fork. And that's it. So you clean it with kerosene. What I used to do is I put the bolt back, and I didn't tighten it. I just put it back slightly, and then I poured some kerosene in here. Obviously I pour the rest of the oil out as much as I could, and then I poured some kerosene, maybe a cup, maybe half a cup of kerosene, and I did up and down. I just like held it with my feet, and I went up and down. Like I moved this part up and down to make sure that the kerosene goes through all the holes, cleans everything inside. And that's it. So after the kerosene is done, you let it evaporate. You make sure you disassemble everything. You clean everything with a rag, the clean rag. Make sure there's no kerosene inside. And then put it back together. And then the next step is to pour oil. Oh, no, sorry. The next step is actually, like if you're using the same kind of spring, you just, that's right. You just pour the oil, right? In this case, 400 milliliters of oil goes in here. How do I know it's 400 milliliters exactly? I just took a little bottle, Gatorade bottle, and I had my kitchen water measure, and I put exactly 400 milliliters of water, and I marked where the water ends, right? That's how I know that this is 400 milliliters. And you just pour the oil in the bottle, and you put the oil here. How do you check it? That is everything. So after you put the oil, you just, again, you take this metal part and you go up and down several times to let the air out. There are bubbles inside, and let the air out. Make sure the oil propagates all the way down. And then you put your spring and your spacer and whatever washers you have, and then you tighten the top cap, and that's it. In my case, I actually put a different spring, a stiffer spring here. So I had to put a different spring like this, right? This is, so original spring is, I believe it's 0.62 kilogram per millimeter spring tension. I put, because I weigh more, so I put 0.85 kilogram per millimeter. So it's a stiffer spring, and it's stiffer and it's shorter too. So I had to manufacture my own spacer for it, right? Because the other spacer doesn't fit anymore. It's too long. It's too short actually. So I went to Home Depot, Laos, and got myself this plastic pipe. And I measured, for your spring, you'll receive instructions. So I measured the preload, that I need. So in my case, it's 15 millimeter preload. So I cut out the spacer with 15 millimeter preload. In the comments, please let me know if you want me to cover how I did this, how I changed the preload on this fork leg, because it has no preload, right? So the way you control the preload is by putting a different spacer in, right? You can do that. Anyway, I manufactured my own spacer from a PVC pipe. So what you do is, obviously, you lower this whole thing down. You fill it with 400 milliliters of oil, right? And you go again up and down to propagate the oil. Then you put the spring in. In my case, this is my new spring, right? Shorter spring. You put it in, and then you put the spacer there, you know, spacers, and they look like this, right? You put it, drop it in onto the spring, and then you drop your spacer in, put it in, and then another spacer on top of the spacer, washer on top of the spacer, and then you put the cap, and that's it. That's all there is to it. And then you reinstall it back into the bike. All right, before you pour the oil, make sure that you tighten the bolt, the bottom bolt, to 29 Newton meters. Okay, and then you can pour the oil. Okay, then you set the micrometer to 112 millimeters. Yeah, and then you have this part here, and then you measure how far is the surface. You kind of make sure it's dry, right, like that, and you put it inside, and you make sure you measure the height of the oil correctly, right? So let's see here. So it barely has anything on the bottom. Okay. So it looks like I need to add just a bit more oil. Remember to measure the correct amount of oil. First of all, you know, obviously measure it in a bottle, separate bottle somewhere, and then you pour it in. You work this leg, and then make sure that the leg is fully down, right? There is no spring here, nothing, right? If you have like some sort of a dampener or something like that, I know some people buy extra dampener, then you need to put the dampener, right? But yeah, no springs, nothing like that. So anyway, you put the leg, you contract the leg fully, and then you pour the oil. And what I do is, like I said, I use the micrometer with 112 millimeters, and I literally put it in like so. See, I just touch it, and see on the tip there's a bit of oil. It means I have exactly the correct amount of oil there as per the manual, because if you open your service manual, they say it should be 112 millimeters of oil in there, right? When you pour the oil in, I mean the distance between the top and the level of oil, right? After you poured it in and you lowered the leg down. Okay, then after that, simply put your spring. Okay, put the spring in, and just like that, right? It's in there. You can extend the leg now. Okay, it goes down easily. That's good. That means nothing's binding. Okay, and you put your spacer. spring spacer in there. Just 1 second. Okay, spacer number 1 goes in. Okay, just like that. Then you put your sorry, not the spacer. This is just a sorry, that was yeah, I guess a spacer. And then you put this one here. Make sure there's no garbage. You know, make sure there's nothing like that. See that little dust in there? Get it out. Okay, you put that sucker in. Okay, you raise up the leg just like that. Put the second spacer in, and then you put the cap on, and then screw it in. After you put the cap on, make sure that you put the upper dust seal, and in order to put it in place, I use the seal driver, a 39mm seal driver that I bought on AliExpress. It's a lot cheaper there. Yeah, you just drive it down, put it on, and then you carefully, lightly bang it on top. You don't need to, it's not like an oil seal when you need to really hammer it. This one, you don't need to hammer it very hard. You just lightly do that, and that should be all you need to do. That's it. Now a word about oil seals. I did put the brand new oil seal, the lower one, the actual oil seal. I put brand new, but this top seal, or I guess the protector, I would say, I left the old ones simply because they were fine. There was no leaks, nothing like that. So they're just doing its job quite well. So I put the old ones back on. Oil. I used the 15 weight oil. 400 milliliters in each leg. That's what the new fork recommended, right? The firm that created the new fork, they recommend 15, so I bought 15. I guess if you want to make it more bouncy and softer, you can put 10 as per the manual. I don't think there's a huge difference there, but you know, I had 10 before and it was very bouncy, so I put 15. We'll see how that works. If 15 is too harsh, then I will put 10 and experiment. Okay, once everything is rebuilt, so you can easily swap the oil. It's not the problem. Yeah, so it doesn't matter which oil, as long as it's a fork oil. And that's about it. You know, you put the outside dust, this guy, right? You put it on there. I clean it with kerosene, made sure that it's clean inside and out, and I didn't use carb cleaner or anything like that because it deteriorates the rubber. I use just kerosene. Kerosene is safe for rubber. And that's about it. You put it on and put the fork back in. If you have any questions, any suggestions, always put the comments, and I promise I'll reply. Thanks, guys.